Welcome to BikeRadar's Tech of the Month, our regular look at some hot, fresh new product. This month, I have for you some comically oversized Oakley sunglasses, a Bryton GPS that aims to be a viable Garmin rival, a gravel-specific saddle from Physique, a super warm ThermaRest sleeping pad, a small but mighty Petzl head torch, and finally, a humble bicycle bell that has a special significance to our young videographer, Felix Smith. Now, gigantic sunglasses are all the rage right now. If you watched this year's Tour de France, you'll have noticed numerous professional riders sporting them, and in particular, one Remco Evenepoel was wearing a pair of these, which is the new Oakley Sutro Lite. These comically massive sunglasses are apparently inspired by urban cyclists. They hark back to Oakley's razor blades, and they are just enormous. And I think that I look like a very sporting fly wearing these. So the Sutro Lite is a wraparound semi-frameless design, which means that you get a really nice big unobstructed field of view, but because there's no frame, plenty of ventilation, so the airflow isn't blocked. They get Oakley's prism lenses, which are supposed to boost colour and contrast, and the lenses are interchangeable, as you'd expect. At the moment, the Sutro Lite comes in 6 colours in a standard fit like this, or 4 colours in an Asian fit. The frame is made from what Oakley calls Omamori, which I think might just be a really fancy word for plastic, but experience would suggest that it will be quite robust. There's also unobtainium, which is actually what they call the grippy stuff that they put on the inside and on the nose piece. That apparently gets even more grippy when it gets sweaty, so that your sunglasses don't slide off your head. And again, experience would suggest that it's fairly effective. The Sutro retails at £143 in the UK, or $176. I would love to know what you think of these, because my first impression was, good lord, they're massive. But they're kind of growing on me, not literally, because they couldn't possibly get bigger than they are already. But I do think that with nice kit and a bike helmet, they actually look quite cool. Next up, the Brighton Rider 750 GPS bike computer. It would be fair to say that the GPS market is totally dominated by Garmin. Wahoo is arguably the only other company that's made real inroads against Garmin, but Garmin is still the benchmark against which all other units get compared. The Rider 750, on paper, looks like it could be a real rival to Garmin's Edge 530 and Edge 830 computers. Key selling points of this unit are that it's got a 2.8-inch colour touchscreen, but also some physical buttons, which I like, and also, most unusually, it has voice search for navigation. The Rider 750 has all manner of connectivity that you'd expect, so Ant Plus, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. You can pair it with your phone to do a lot of things. You can pretty much do all your setup stuff via your phone if you want to. You don't have to, but it means that, for example, you can use your phone's keyboard rather than trying to type on the device. As well as that, you can control a smart trainer, for example. You can connect to electronic group sets, i.e. Di2, Axis and EPS. Essentially, this is a fully featured device, and incidentally, the mapping that it uses is based on OpenStreetMaps, which, at least in my experience, generally means quite a high level of detail. As you can see, in terms of size, it's reasonably compact. Claimed battery life for the Rider 750 is 20 hours, and it uses a mount that is very, very similar to a Garmin mount, but not actually the same. The key thing about the Rider 750 is its price. As a basic bundle, this little computer with all of those features, that colour touchscreen and everything, is £220 or $270, or add in heart rate, cadence and speed sensors and you're looking at £290 or $350. Either way, that is a very, very good price for on-paper specs. Now, it remains to be seen if in the real world it does perform as promised and do everything it says it will. But if it lives up to the promise of its spec, this is a really interesting device that could really take the fight to Garmin. And now, over to professional hair model and housewives' favourite, Felix Smith.
Thanks Matthew, great seeing your workshop looking as tidy as ever. This month I've got a few interesting items which have enhanced my winter bikepacking. First up is this blow-up, ultra-warm sleeping pad from ThermaRest. This is the Neoair X-Therm sleeping pad, which sacrifices a bit of size and weight for ultimate warmth. It's still considered to have the best warmth to weight ratio of any pad out there, which is always a consideration when you're lugging all your gear around with you on the bike. And if any of you are still bikepacking during the winter months, you'll know that keeping warm is a real priority. I weighed it, including this little bag that it comes in, at 475 grams. It's obviously not the lightest out there, but it has an R value of 6.9, which is a universal rating for sleeping pads. In other words, this pad is designed for some of the most extreme winter adventures. It achieves this by using reflective thermocapture technology, which traps in any radiant heat within the pad, whilst the triangular core matrix construction minimises convective heat loss. Now, who knew all that technology was going on whilst you're sleeping? Once fully blown up, it gives you 6.4 centimetres between you and the ground. And to do this, it uses this pretty handy little pump sack, which essentially fills with air and then is pumped into the pad. And I'm going to show you that now. Let's speed this bit up. Ta-da! At the end of a very long day bikepacking, having that pump is going to be really handy because you don't want to be wasting your precious breath, especially if you're camping at altitude, for example. It doesn't exactly come cheap at £204.99 or $215 US, but for me, I'm hoping that it's going to give me the extra warmth this winter so I don't have to invest in a full winter sleeping bag. This little head torch from Petzl is really handy for bikepacking and cycling at night in general, and that's especially important now as the days are so much shorter and the nights so much longer in the UK. This is the Actic core model, which gives you 450 lumens of light at its maximum power and only weighs a claimed 75 grams. What's really cool about this light though is its hybrid charging system. This means the torch is powered by not only its own rechargeable lithium-ion battery, but also 3 AAA batteries too. This is particularly cool if you intend to go on a slightly more remote kind of bikepacking adventure, because AAA batteries can be found pretty much anywhere. The lithium-ion battery has a capacity of 1,250 milliamp hours, and it can be charged by a simple micro USB, and it takes about 3 hours to fully charge. Petzl claims that you get around 2 hours at the full power output, which is 450 lumens, and a seriously impressive 130 hours on its eco mode. You'll notice that it's got more than one lens, and that's so that it can produce different beam patterns. And it's got this third little red lens here, which is basically designed to preserve your night vision and so that you don't blind people when you're trying to find something in the dark. I've got a feeling running this head torch is going to be really handy for any nighttime gravel sessions and actually commuting as well, because I think it will give you a bit more visibility. And it costs around £40 to £50. My final item is perhaps the least techie item that we've ever had on Tech of the Month. However, I think this represents something really important to me. This is a bicycle bell made by Crane Japan, and its simple, practical design is matched with this really beautiful hand-painted message on it. I love finding beauty in simple, practical objects, and it's this philosophy that made this bell really stand out to me. Crane's bells are well known for their loudness and long resonance. The bell is a great complement to my winter bike, as I tend to spend more time on bike paths at this time of year. This means having to share the path with pedestrians, families, dogs, etc. So being able to make your presence felt nice and early on, and with such great sound, is really important. It features in Crane's Omamori collection. All the bells in the range feature different hand-painted messages which are traditional of Shinto shrines and Buddhist temples that you find in Japan. I've been told that I'm very lucky in life, and this one is said to give me good luck on all my rides. I was lucky enough to ride the length of Japan back in 2017, and you can watch a video on this with a link in the video description. All the bells in the Omamori range are based on Crane's Suzu mini platform. They have a 45mm aluminium dome and a steel clamp which fits bars between 22.2cm and 26cm. I hope you've enjoyed my slightly more unusual items this month. Of course, if you didn't like any of them, please let us know. And also if you'd like to see more bikepacking content too. But for now, it's back to Matthew in his garage.
Thanks, Felix. You are genuinely the best. Finally, I'm going to talk about this saddle. This is the Fizik Terra Argo, which is a gravel-specific version of the existing Argo short-nose saddle. Short-nose saddles are very trendy. People who have a relatively aggressive position on the bike often like them because there is less saddle in the way, and they tend to work really well for people who don't move around very much on the saddle. Also, they just look quite cool and aero, which is nice. The Terra Argo comes in 150 and 160mm widths. It's based on a carbon reinforced shell, and it uses what Physique calls a Mobius rail design, which is essentially where the rails are a single piece, so they run from the nose, wrap around underneath the tail, and go back to the nose again. So very nice and simple, very elegant piece of design. Notable features of the Terra Argo compared to other saddles are, for example, that it has very long saddle rail clamping area. So the part that you can actually clamp your seat post onto is 77mm long. There's also quite a nice bit of clearance, so you can easily get inside the saddle when you're mucking about with your seat post. The profile of this saddle is what Physique calls waved, which essentially means that there's a kick up in the tail, which is supposed to give you more support when you're climbing. Most amusing of all is the fact that while this saddle has a cutout, as do so many these days, this one is filled in with a mudguard, which makes a lot of sense when you think about the fact that your back wheel is going to be kicking up lots of mud and sending it straight up into the underside of the saddle. Of course, simply blocking out the cutout wouldn't be enough, so what Physique has done is they've put a little drain here, which means that rainwater or general filth can drain out of the cutout even though you are protected from muck. As well as coming in two widths, the Terra Argo comes in two versions. This is the slightly lighter Terra Argo X3 with what Physique calls Kiam rails. I've weighed this one, it's 150mm wide, at 246 grams on my scales. This one retails at £130 or about the same number of euros, while the slightly cheaper, very slightly heavier X5 retails at £90 or about the same number of euros. We're seeing a huge number of gravel specific products. I guess you might think maybe a saddle is a bridge too far. Do let us know in the comments. But on the face of it, this is a very nice piece of kit, and I do love that it has a drain. That's quite amusing. Right, thank you for watching. This has been BikeRadar's Tech of the Month. While you're here, please do leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of this millennial mustard yellow shirt. I quite like it, you may not. Do give us your thoughts on giant sunglasses or Garmin rivaling GPSs. We love to hear from you, we read all the comments, even the mean ones. Thanks very much for watching.